This is the last part of the chapter. Measures of dispersion has two parts. That is, first part is measures of dispersion. The second part is measures of skewness. So we have learnt measures of dispersion. There was also a file which was sent in the group for you to practice more problems. Please go on and practice more problems. It's for your own good, because in exams you can get any sort of questions. And also please solve previous year question papers which have been forwarded. I will also forward one more question paper of 2019. In case of any doubt, you can send me the picture of that question. So I will take a separate class to clear all your doubts in that regard. Okay, so let's start the chapter. This is measures of skewness. Now, we will see the definition of it first. Okay, so according to Garrett, a distribution is said to be skewed when the mean and median fall at different points in the distribution and the balance is shifted to one side or to the other, or to left or right. Now here what will happen is, let us understand this skewness through the picture here. Now here, if you see the picture, the center picture, the normal picture, whichever you're seeing, which says no skew, this has a bell-shaped curve, which means, see, if you see like this, it goes up and comes down like a mountain. So this is called bell-shaped curve. Now in this bell-shaped curve, it is on a proper balance, which means the value from the center here, you can see this dotted line, the value from the center to this extreme, and again value from the center to the other extreme is same. So there is an equal distance between the both of them. So this center line is where all mean, median, mode are located, because all the three mean, median, mode are our averages. So that is why all these three are averages. We consider arithmetic mean, median and mode. In all of the three, we consider the central value only. So that is why they are called as measures of central tendency. So this is called no skew, which means there is no problem with the values. Everything is in a balanced form. Suppose if this balance is shifted either to the right side or the left side, then in that case it is called skewed distribution. Okay, skewed means there is no skewness, or skewed means there is no proper balance. So that is what they are trying to explain in the definition. So if you see the first picture which says negatively skewed, you can see there is no balance. The bell-shaped curve is towards one side, and you can see the mean, median and mode. All the three are at different places. Usually they are at a very similar place because they are averages, but here they are at different places. So this is known as negatively skewed. It goes to one direction, or if you see the last picture here which says positively skewed. So here also there is the distance between this actual center point of the curve and the extremes of the curve are different. See, the place or the distance from here to this here is not same as from mode to the other extreme. So this is called positively skewed. So skewness means, the measure of skewness means we are going to measure in the given numbers, is it actually a balanced number, or is it concentrating towards to the center, or it is concentrating towards left or right. So that is known as measure of skewness. So let's read the definition once again. A distribution is said to be skewed when the mean and the median fall at different points in the distribution. So if you see, if it is at one point, there is no skewness. If it is at the different points, so if you see here, mean is here, median is at the different place, mode is at different place. Similarly in the other one also, mean and median are at different place. And the balance means the center or gravity is shifted to one side or the other, either to the left or to the right. So that is called measure of skewness. There is one more simple definition given by Croxton and Cowden. what they say is, when a series is not symmetrical, it is said to be asymmetrical or skewed. Symmetrical means everything is same. Okay, symmetrical means it is same. So if you see this value here, if you see this mean, median, mode, the values, all of them are at center value here, or at the mid value or the center place. So this is called as symmetrical. But if you see the other two diagrams here, they are asymmetrical because they are not in the center place and they have different placements being done. So this is known as skewness. Okay, did you all understand what do you mean by skewness? Anybody has doubt in this? Did you understand this slide completely? Okay, so let us go on to the next slide. Next, skewness means lack of symmetry, balance, or equal spread. So that this diagram, whatever we had here, this diagram or this figure, whichever we had here, we have the explanation. Skewness means lack of symmetry, balance, or equal spread. If a distribution is asymmetrical, it is called skewed distribution. If the distribution is not same, then it is known as asymmetrical, or it is known as skewed distribution. In a symmetrical distribution, mean, median, and mode all are equal. So if you see this center diagram, this graph, if you see, that is the normal. Here mean, median, mode all are at the equal place, so that is why they form a bell shaped curve. A symmetrical distribution forms a bell shaped curve when the values are plotted on a graph sheet, which means on a graph sheet, if you plot the values of mean, median, and mode, all of them fall under one place only, which means mean, median, mode all are equal in this normal distribution. But let's see, when the values of mean is more than mode, okay, when x bar is the mean which is more than mode is denoted by z, it is called as positive skewness. So if you see here, when the mean value is more than mode, okay, when the mean value is more than mode, don't see the mean value being at a lower pace and the mode at the higher pace. No, see the values from here. See, mode is coming at mode is coming first here, so which means the value of mode is less and mean value is coming later. So in this case, mean value is more than mode, so that is why it is called as positively skewed. Similarly, if you take the other part, here you have the mean value coming first and then the mode value. So when your mean value is coming first, then it is negatively skewed. If your mode value is coming first in the graph, then it is positively skewed. So that is what they are talking about. When the value of mean is more than mode, then it is called positive skewness. When the value of mode is greater than mean, then it is called negative skewness. So in the skewness, we are going to say them which direction the disturbance is. In dispersion, we were calculating how much is the dispersion, or how much is it variable, how far or how much is the numbers given to us placed far. So they're also maintaining the social distancing between the numbers. But in the skewness, we are trying to find out which way, okay, is it on the positive side that they are having the differences, or on the negative side are they having the differences. So that is why it's called positively skewed and negatively skewed. Okay, did you understand this slide also? Anybody has doubt with this slide? Okay, let's go on. Now next, test of skewness. Now in test of skewness, now to understand the skewness, we have to calculate certain things in the test of skewness. Okay, so we'll see what are those things to be calculated. To ascertain the presence of skewness in the distribution, the following test may be applied. Okay, so what are those tests? Skewness is said to be present if. Now when all do you think there is skewness? That is given in the points. The values of mean, median, mode are different. It is like, when all do you know that you are supposed to identify skewness and solve the problem? When mean, median, mode are having too much of different values. Okay, when you plot them on diagram, if there are two are at different places, then it means skewness is present in that data. Then when plotted on a graph, the frequency distribution do not form a bell-shaped curve. Now when you plot all the mean, median and mode on the graph, if it is not coming to this shape, okay, if it is not coming to this shape, then it means there is skewness. If it shifts to one of the side, either on the negative side or on the positive side, it means that the skewness is present. Okay, next, the sum of the positive deviations from the median is not equal to the sum of negative deviations from the median. You will understand this while we are solving the problems. We will be calculating deviations here also. D and D dash. Okay, D for discrete series, D dash for continuous series. When we are calculating such values, in that scenario, the sum of positive deviations from the median is not equal to negative deviations, then it means skewness is present. Then quartiles Q1 and Q3 are not equidistant from the median. So now the data can always be distributed into 4 parts. That is what we have learned in quartiles also all the time. First 25% of the data is called Q1. So in between, that is 50% of the data is called median or Q2. And next 75% of the data is called Q3. So we say all these three are at equal distances. Suppose if they are not at equal distances, then it means skewness is present. Okay, if they are at equal distances, no problem. If they are not equal distances, then they are called, then we can say skewness is present in the distribution. Okay, so this is when this is all the situations where we will know the skewness is present. Skewness is nothing but that the distribution or the numbers are not properly balanced. Sometimes the numbers will be too big or too small. Next, skewness is absent when the above conditions are not satisfied. Okay, if you just understand, if you see any of these 4 points, you can say skewness is present. Okay, so that is the major thing that you'll have to learn. Okay, did you understand the test of skewness? Anybody has doubt in the first part of the text here? Did you all understand the test of skewness? This is a general test given. Okay, now let us understand what is the difference between dispersion and skewness. You can expect this for 2 marks question. Difference between dispersion and skewness. Okay, 2 marks they can ask because it's just only 2 points and they're very easy to understand. Let's just see what are the differences. Dispersion or variation is concerned with the amount of variation rather than with the direction. So if we had already solved enough dispersion problems in the previous chapter. So here in the dispersion, what we will be doing is, we are only concerned with the amount of variation. How much is it vary in percentages? Okay, we will only check the amount of variation rather than which direction. So it is something like you have scored the marks. Okay, you have scored the marks in the examination, And then what happens is, in that examination, one subject you have scored very well, the other subject you are not able to score very well. Now you only think about, okay, you have not scored, you have not scored, but you don't think about why, what is the reason. So in dispersion we only see the difference from first test to another test, but in skewness we will also find out the reason and in which direction the difference is happening. So the amount of variation is checked in the dispersion, and the direction is checked in the skewness. Okay, skewness tells about the direction of variation. Measures of skewness depends upon the amount of dispersion. So which means dispersion and skewness both are interrelated. Okay, both dispersion and skewness are interrelated. How they are interrelated? Measures of skewness depends upon amount of dispersion. We have calculated quartile deviation, mean deviation, standard deviation, coefficient of variance. We used variance to find the standard deviation and coefficient of variation. So there are a lot of things we found out in dispersion. Using all those methods, we are going to also analyze which direction the difference is happening. So that is the first difference. Next, dispersion is widely used statistical tool in decision making. So when it comes to decision making, dispersion is the all-time favorite for everybody, because you can calculate arithmetic mean, you can calculate standard deviation and CV, that is coefficient of variation, and then based on the CV you can make a judgment or decision. But in skewness you cannot make that decision directly, that is difficult, okay, in skewness. So skewness is used very rarely, it is not used as much as dispersion. Okay, the skewness is not used as much as dispersion. So those are the two differences between dispersion and skewness. Just to summarize, dispersion will give you the amount of variation, skewness will give you uh, the direction of the variation. Okay, so dispersion will give you the amount of variation, skewness will give you the direction of variation. You can see here, see, amount of variation is dispersion, direction of variation is skewness. Okay, and measures of skewness depend upon amount of dispersion, but a dispersion is very widely used tool, and skewness is rarely used tool. Okay, so did you all understand the difference between dispersion and skewness? Can you please leave it in chat? Anybody has doubt with this slide? Okay, so let us continue then. Next, measures of skewness. Now in dispersion also we have learnt about absolute measure and relative measure, right? So in absolute measure, we will be knowing how much exactly are we gonna get the values. Okay, so that is absolute measure. But when you think about relative measure, it is the ratio. Okay, absolute measure is in particular you will get to know the values, relative measure is the ratios or percentages which we calculate. So if you see the relative measures, it's always calculation of coefficient, and if you again consider CV, we calculated it as a percentage. Now let us see the absolute measure of skewness. Now for skewness, again you have absolute measure and relative measure. So absolute measure is skewness can be measured in absolute terms by taking the difference between mean and mode. Again you will get back to mean and mode only. So all the chapters in your syllabus are interrelated. So that is why first we covered up the measures of central tendency. That is also one of the very important chapter for you to understand and solve problems in examination. So here skewness can be measured by taking the difference between arithmetic mean and mode. So x bar we'll have to calculate and mode we have to calculate. When skewness is based on quartiles, okay, suppose if they've given information of quartiles, then absolute measure of skewness is calculated by using this formula. What is that formula? Q3 plus Q1 minus 2 median. Okay, when you have when you are able to solve arithmetic mean and mode, then use this formula. If you're not able to solve that, but you have quartiles information, use this formula, Q3 plus Q1 minus 2 median. If the answer is positive, if you get a positive answer, it means that there exists positive skewness. If you get the answer in plus, okay, which means positive skewness is present, which means that arithmetic mean is more than mode. If your answer is negative, if you get the answer in minus values, which means there is a negative skewness. In negative skewness, the arithmetic mean is less than mode. Okay, in positive skewness, arithmetic mean is more. In negative skewness, arithmetic mean is less than mode. Okay, so that is absolute measure. Next is relative measure. Okay, so in this chapter for us, relative measure is important. So let's see. Few of the methods of relative measures of skewness are Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness, Bowley's coefficient of skewness, Kelly's coefficient of skewness. Kindly do not confuse yourself with the methods of index numbers and methods of skewness. Okay, read the question thoroughly and then answer the question. Okay, so for our syllabus, we have Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness and Bowley's coefficient of skewness only. We don't have the next two methods, that is Kelly's coefficient and skewness based on moments. Okay, skewness is one wide application of statistical data tool in every practical world also. Okay, these are few things where we will be using them widely in the industries for decision making, along with uh, along with the dispersion values, we will be using skewness also. Okay, so that is relative measures. Now let's understand what is Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness. Now this is the first coefficient of skewness we will be learning. Okay, Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness, or simply Pearsonian coefficient of skewness, and it is given with, and it is denoted using SK and P. Okay, it's called SK and P. In the problems you will have to use this denotion, because skewness of Pearson, okay, SK is skewness of Pearson, so is based on difference between mean and mode. This difference is divided by standard deviation to get a relative measure. So what are we doing in the Karl Pearson's is, so we will be calculating the difference between mean and mode. So x bar minus z will be calculated, and then it will be divided by standard deviation. So if you see here, first we are going to calculate the mean, then we will be calculating the mode, then we'll be calculating the standard deviation. After calculating all the three, then we will apply the skewness formula and find the answer. So you can expect Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness for 14 marks. Compulsory question. Every question paper has this 14 marks question. It is easy to solve. So concentrate and learn. So first formula is mean minus mode by standard deviation. Then in the absence of mode, suppose you are not able to calculate mode, then you can use this empirical formula. Mode is equal to 3 median minus 2 mean. Okay, you can use, if you're not able to find mode in that, then you can use this formula. Then that formula can be used instead. In such case, Pearson's coefficient of skewness is calculated using the formula. If you're able to calculate mode, well and good, go with the first formula. If you're not able to do it, then calculate mode using 3 median minus 2 mode formula, and for that you will have to use the skewness formula. This is the second formula you will have to use. Okay, I hope everybody understood that. I'll just repeat it once again. If you know the mode, use the first formula, no problem. If you don't know the mode, calculate the mode here. Okay, if you don't know the mode, calculate the mode here. If you are using this formula, Okay, if you're using this formula, then skewness has to be calculated using the formula here, the second formula. Okay, now next, the results of skewness, Pearson skewness, normally would lie between plus or minus 1. Theoretically, the value of Pearson skewness varies between plus or minus 3. So usually whatever you get the result here, okay, no matter which formula you use, whatever you get the result here, this will be between plus 1 or minus 1. Okay, it will be in between these two values only. Maximum the values can go is plus 3 or minus 3. These are the theoretical values that it can vary. Okay, so this is Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness. Did you all understand this slide? Anybody has doubt in the formulas? Okay, everybody understood. That's good. So let's continue then. So here is the first problem. So let's go through the problem. From the following data, calculate Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness. And they've given us individual numbers. This is individual series problem. So in this, you're supposed to calculate Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness. So let's see the numbers. So you have 40, you have 40, 36, 42, 53, 45, 50, 68, 61 and 55. Just by seeing numbers, we cannot come to any conclusions. Let us go on and solve this for the formula. Now, first thing, let us write down the formula, that is x minus z by standard deviation. Arithmetic mean minus mode divided by standard deviation. This is the first formula. Okay, let us remember this as first formula and second formula. Okay, so this will be your first formula and this will be your second formula. Always first write the first formula and then we will calculate mean and standard deviation, and then we will see the further steps. Okay, after writing the formula, we are calculating mean and standard deviation. Now in this mean and standard deviation, I will write down all these values in a table that is known as X. So first I have to calculate arithmetic mean. So let's calculate. What will be the formula? Sigma X divided by N. Okay, so this is an individual series problem. So sigma x divided by n. So x is equal to, I write down all of these numbers, I add them up, then I get sigma x. Okay, sigma x will be the total number. Now once I find sigma x, now I'm supposed to calculate arithmetic mean. So the total of sigma x was 450, right? So the total of sigma x was 450 and I divide that by 9. So 9 is the n. So n is equal to 9. So when I divide them, I get the arithmetic mean value of 50. So I first calculated the arithmetic mean. Now after calculating arithmetic mean, the next I am supposed to calculate standard deviation. We will see mode later. Okay, always first calculate arithmetic mean and standard deviation. Then we will calculate mode. We will see the data and we will calculate the mode. Now, if you for calculation of standard deviation, I have to find the deviations. Okay, for finding deviations, what will be my formula? X minus x bar. X I already have, x bar which I already found out here to be 50. So x bar will be 50 for me. Now I'll find the deviations. 40 minus 50 is minus 10. 36 minus 50 is minus 14. 42 minus 50 is minus 8. 53 minus 50 is plus 3, 45 minus 50 is minus 5, 50 minus 50 is 0. Likewise, I calculate for all of them. So I find the deviations here completely. Once I find the deviations, I'll have to square them. Okay, always in finding standard deviation, find the deviations and square them. Once you square them, you will get squaring means you just have to multiply with the same number along with the signs, so which means you get the square answers also. After finding the square answers, add them up. That is called summation of x square. Now this summation of x square is supposed to be used for calculation of standard deviation. Now we have three major numbers for calculation of standard deviations. That is n. We already know what is n. Then we know what is sigma x, and then we know what is sigma x square. Okay, now let us calculate standard deviation. The formula for standard deviation is very simple for individual series. So that is going to be square root of sigma x square by n. So we already calculated sigma x square, that is nothing but 864. So 864 is taken here, divided by n is 9. Now when you simplify this, you get a standard deviation of 9.798. Okay, so this is the standard deviation. So we calculated arithmetic mean, we calculated standard deviation. Now the next, as mode cannot be calculated, we have to use the formula. Now if you remember, mode cannot be calculated for an individual series here. Why? Because you don't have a frequency. Usually mode is calculated by observing the frequency. Whichever frequency is highest, that corresponding x value will be considered either as a modal class or as a mode value. So in this particular series, even though the numbers are not repeated, if you see that for individual series, we usually check which is the repeated number. So if you see, all the numbers are different, right? So 40 is not repeated, 36 is not repeated, 50 is not repeated. So in such scenario, we cannot calculate the mode. So that is why what we are going to do is, we will not use the first formula, we are going to use the second formula. So if you remember, we had named formulas as 1 and 2. So first we will consider first formula and find the values. If this is not working, then we consider the second formula. Why we are considering second formula? Because we are not able to calculate the mode. Now for the second formula, you're supposed to calculate median, right? So let's calculate median for individual series. The first step in calculation of median is arranging the data in ascending order. So whatever data we had there, the x values is arranged in ascending order. Now after this, let us solve the median. So the simple way of solving median is the formula size of n plus 1 by 2th item. So here n is 9 for us. So n is equal to 9. So n is 9 for us. 9 plus 1 by 2, which is 10 by 2. Okay, 10 by 2. 10 by 2 is nothing but 5th item. So in the series, which is the 5th item, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5th item is 50 once again. Now compare, median is also 50, arithmetic mean is also 50. Okay, so both the numbers are same. It's not a rule to get same, we are just observing both the numbers are same. Okay, now we found the median also. Now let us go on and find the skewness. Now for this formula, let us check, do we have all the information? Now if you see this formula, you have the information, we have the information of arithmetic mean, that is already present. Arithmetic mean is 50. We know what is median, median is also 50. We know what is standard deviation, that is 9.798. Now let us put that into the formula. Skewness of Pearson, or Pearson's skewness, is equal to 3 into x bar minus median divided by standard deviation. Okay, x bar minus median divided by standard deviation. So 3 into x bar is 50, median is also 50, Standard deviation is 9.798. So when you see both of them are equal, it will be 0. So here if you simplify, 3 into 0 divided by 9.798. Okay, so 3 into 0 is 0. 0 by 9.798. Again, 0 divided by any number, you will get 0 only. So the final answer for this problem is 0. Thus, there is no skewness in the distribution, which means this data is non-skewness data, or this data does not have any disturbance. So which means your data, the first problem data whatever we have, is in this form. Okay, no skewness form. If at all you had got any number with positive or negative sign, then we would have told that as negatively skewed or positively skewed. Since the value or the final answer of the skewness is 0, we can say there is no skewness in the distribution. Okay, I hope everybody understood this problem. Anybody has doubt in this problem, you can leave it in chat so I can address your doubts. So nobody has doubts, everybody understood the first problem. Please make sure you're clear with the concept. Go through the concept once again. One compulsory question will be asked from Carl Pearson's. Okay, so we'll stop the class here, students. Thank you very much.